What are we doing in the black community? The number one consumer of a Mercedes-Benz
It's us.
us. The number one consumer of a Gucci and a Louis Vuitton, us. And they don't even advertise. Why is it that in the black community, we are always the number one consumer, but we're not the number one creators?
So you just said it. The fact that there's consumers and creators. For so long, we assume success based on consumption.
Welcome to Closing the Gap, the truth about black wealth, where I am your co-host, Mr. Eddie Richardson, here with our host and owner of Hamilton Wealth Advisors, Mr. Wilbert Hamilton. Thank you for tuning in to Radio WATV, V94.9 on your FM dial, and also on the YouTube channel at Closing the Gap, the truth. And you can also find this podcast on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. How you doing today, brother?
Blessed and highly favored.
All right. Amen. This is another righteous and holy day, another righteous and holy episode that we're striving to bring to the people and talking about closing the gap, where we strive to give you the truth about black wealth and talk about things that affect our communities and how we can become better off in handling what God has blessed us with. That's right. And we realize that everything that we have, it comes from God, and everything that you receive, you need to be able to give honor to God, but also manage it well. And so today, we're talking about managing our finances. We're talking about taking care of them. We've been talking about planning. That's the theme for the whole year, is planning. But today we want to talk about creating generational wealth and the benefit of planning. You know, it's one thing to plan, but then you need to understand the benefits of it. That's right. You need to understand the value of something, anything that you have and has value. You are valuable, and everything that you have is valuable, but you need to understand the benefits of those values. So today, Mr. Hamilton, tell us what happens when we properly plan in our financial lives.
You know, one of the things I tell people that I meet with, you know, on a daily basis and clients that I work with, the most valuable thing that I believe a solid financial plan brings you is peace. You know, peace that surpasses all understanding. I think that's the greatest gift that we can all receive, is having peace, and having peace in your finances, because you have a plan and you understand what to do, when to do, and how to do. It gives you that reassurance. It gives you some confidence. It gives you a sense of calm. And now you can focus on everything else that's going on in your life. You can focus on the relationship with your kids. You can focus on the relationship with your spouse. You can focus on how to better yourself on the job or get the most out of your talents, gifts, and abilities, if you don't have the financial worry, burden, and strain of what's going to happen tomorrow financially for me. So when we know better, we can do better. Okay. So just having a plan gives us that stability and gives us a clear mind to really be able to focus. If we think about a lot of the issues that we deal with in the African-American community, I think a lot of our stresses and traumas, they stem from financial distress. If we could just kind of shear up some of those issues, you think about, you know, where does high blood pressure and hypertension, and where does just our overall stress level derive from? It usually comes from inadequate planning within our finances. Because I'm a firm believer that God gives us what we need to have to do exactly what we need to do. But when we don't have that plan in place, sometimes we have some vices and we have, you know, things that get in the way, and we end up spending money erroneously. And our funding usually goes to places that are not maximizing the benefit to put us in the best position to be successful. So when you have a plan and you have a budget, you have things that can help you stick to, you know, accomplishing a certain goal. And the goal may not be to be a millionaire. The goal may be to have enough to pay my bills so I have peace. And now I don't have to worry, okay, well, how am I going to pay the bills next month? Well, I've saved. I didn't overspend on DoorDash and Uber Eats this month. I didn't overspend buying too many pair of shoes, or, you know, overspend that Christmas this year trying to buy X, Y, Z. I made sure I saved for a rainy day, because we know that, you know, the rain is going to come. That's right. No day is every day is not going to be a great day, but we all know the sun is going to shine in another day. So it's just being able to weather that storm, because we know the storms of life are going to happen. God has told us those storms are going to happen, and they're not meant to destroy you. Right. They're meant to actually help propel you through preparation. And as we learn to prepare even better, we learn and put ourselves in position to be able to weather bigger and bigger storms. And I think that's the part that sometimes we can tend to miss. And like, man, why do I keep going through these storms? Like, well, that means you're passing storms. You got to pass through one storm to get to another.
So, no.
But the preparation and what God is saying is like, man, I'm seeing you growing. But because you're growing, that means I got to put a little bit more weight on that bar because you got to keep growing to get to the next phase of life. And, you know, the challenges don't stop. They just change. And we just got to learn to, you know, address those in a positive fashion. But having that financial plan allows us to take one of those issues off the plate to focus on life a little bit more.
Okay. That's good. That's good. So you said that I like the word that you use, erroneous spending. That's something that we all need to do. Eliminate erroneous spending. And much of our errors come from the lack of planning.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's where we fall short. And if we can eliminate that by just sitting down, putting together a plan, and that will give us peace of mind, that will comfort us going forward. So then also, as you were talking about that, I thought about the fact that anything that we get, as we stated, comes from God. And so everything that we have, we need to properly plan with it so that we can give God the glory in it.
Absolutely.
Right? Because in our lives and in our movements, God blesses us in various ways. And when we receive finances, proper planning, God doesn't want us to get what we have and then just lose it, you know, quickly. But he gives it to us in hopes that, hey, once I give this to you, if you do what you need to do with it the proper way, then it will be able to take care of you. Right? And then you will be able to receive more in. But if you don't properly take care of what you already have, then you can't go out just always crying and asking for more and more and more, because you're not going to be able to get more if you don't know how to handle more. So if you know how to handle what you have and realize that what you have is probably sufficient for your needs at a present time. And so that's the benefit of taking the time to do some planning. Is planning will help you actually view what you have and see what you have. And then, as you stated, you get some peace in your life. You have some calm in your life, and everything is not just going haywire. So when we do that, Mr. Hamilton, also now let's dive into that financial plan a little bit more. Talking about the setup of that financial plan. What are some things that we need to take care of now? We're into the first quarter of the month. First quarter of the year is almost over. We are getting toward the end of tax season. What are some things that we need to look at now as the public in proper financial planning as we move into the end of this first quarter of the year?
I would tell people the 3 big keys I always focus on when I meet with a client, first and foremost: working in 3 phases: protect your money, save your money, and then grow your money. If you do those things out of order, you always end up back at square one, because we all like to focus and think about what we hope to happen, but don't plan for what's guaranteed to happen.
Give me that order again.
Protect, save, and grow. So protection means that tomorrow's not promised to any of us, but we all hope to see the future at some particular point in time. So none of us know if we're going to become disabled. None of us know if we're going to pass away prematurely. But we have to plan for those things, because that is the unknown. You know, we don't know how life is going to unfold. You know, we don't have that crystal ball, and God don't tell us exactly what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. But it's our responsibility to plan just in case it is to happen, because, you know, everybody plans on seeing the retirement and having the white picket fence and retiring to the sunset and living happily ever after. But, you know, in real life, it doesn't always work that way. So I have a family, I have a wife, I have 3 sons. I have to make sure that if I'm not here, I still want my wife to have that beautiful house, that picket fence, and that beautiful happily ever after. I want her to be able to remember me in a positive light. Say, you know what? I wish he was here, but I'm glad with the way he left us. Yeah. You know, so being able to put my family in a situation where they can have some semblance of peace at some particular point in time in the future, making sure that we have established the protection around our assets, because your most valuable asset is your money. And your most valuable asset is actually your ability to earn that money. So have you protected that ability? So if you're not able, if something were to happen to you, you become disabled, how would your income continue to float? Because I know the mortgage company don't say, you know what, I know you're having some bad luck right now. We're not going to send this mortgage bill to you no more. We're just going to postpone that until you get better. It don't work that way. Alabama Power is not going to send you a grievance letter saying, you know what, we understand you're going through tough times right now, so don't worry about paying your power bill right now. Those bills are still going to come. So there's a thing called a living death and also a physical death. Physical death is what we all know as, of course, someone passing prematurely. But that living death is someone being here. What happens if you're in a coma? What happens if you're no longer able to function and perform your daily activities and duties, but you're still here living? So you have to think about those things. So that's why I say protection is the foundational piece of having a solid financial plan. And then we have to save. You know, do you have 3 to 6 months in savings put away? Preferably 6 months. If people say, Mr. Hamilton, I don't, you know, how do I get that? I'm like, well, we got to cut some spending somewhere, because I'm guaranteeing a lot of these people that work for the federal government did not think they was going to be laid off right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people that work for a lot of these major corporations did not think that they were going to be let go with the downsizing that's been happening over really the last several years has been, coming on, especially with AI and those things that are ticking up. Well, a lot more jobs are being automated. You know, they're building robots to do the job more efficiently than we have done in the past with less back talk.
Yeah.
So we have to think about those things and say, look, you know, how am I continue to make myself valuable in the workforce? So I got to protect myself and my assets. Then I have to save. And what that does is by the time you've done those two things, and now we can start talking about the fun stuff. Everybody wants to talk to me about the stocks, the bonds, the mutual funds, how I'm going to grow my assets. And that's great. I'm glad that we're interested in those topics, but we got to make sure we've handled those first two things. And now we can talk about the last one, you know, about growing the assets. We can talk about it in a very efficient way, because we're not worried about if something were to happen to you or you were to get laid off, having some poor money out of this investment plan to pay your light bill, your water bill, and your gas bill. That's what that emergency reserve and those savings are supposed to be there for, until you find a new job and get back on your feet and able to start regaining some kind of income. So you have to have all three put together to create a solid foundation. And that leads into the financial planning. And people think, well, that's the financial plan. I'm like, well, no, that's just the beginning of the financial planning. Those are just three things that we need to have in place to function. Once we've done that, we start to work and build a financial plan. What a financial plan is really designed to do is to put you in a position where at some particular point in time, you can take a step away from your job, your career, and you can live happily ever after, because you've invested, you put your money in places where it's going to provide you sufficient income for the duration of your life. So me, myself, as a financial advisor, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, and we happen to be a lot of times the worst at that, because most business owners always put all their money back into the business. We're always growing the business, which we understand. And those are things that have to happen. But at some particular point in time, you have to establish a sound financial plan, because you don't want your business to become your financial plan, or else you can never retire from the business. Well, we want to be in a situation where at some particular point in time, I want to be able to take a step away from my business and still be able to pay my bills and function. So that's where we would tell people, you got to have retirement and investments. Those are two separate things. Remember, retirement is what I need to maintain my standard of living for the rest of my life. And those additional investments are what I can take my calculated risk with to be a little bit more optimistic in. But I have to establish the foundation of what I need to maintain for the rest of my life. And I have to start putting something away. So when you hear the old adage of, you know, a lot of accountants and CPAs say, you know what, pay yourself first. You know, I'm a big proponent of pay God first and pay yourself second. So you give God his 10 and pay yourself your 20, everything else you use and live on. And that's the way I think we need to start functioning, to put ourselves in a position where we have some control over our future and what it's going to look like.
That's good. So protect, save, grow. Those are the benefits of proper financial planning. Doing that helps us eliminate erroneous spending. Then proper planning propels us towards God's purpose.
Yes, sir.
In our lives. And so when we do that, and we are functioning the way that we need to function within our household and taking care of things that we need to do, I do believe that ends up helping us have a greater effect on the overall community.
Absolutely.
Because when I have my house in order and you have your house in order, and I'm at peace in my house and you're at peace in your house, and you understand what your finances are, and I have an understanding of what my finances are, then now we as a community can then come outside of our own personal doors and be able to work with each other. So, from your vantage point as a financial advisor, Mr. Hamilton, how is the community impacted by a proper financial plan?
I mean, you said and kind of hit the nail on the head. When you've taken care of your finances, you're in a better space mentally and emotionally. We all are. We all can think about when our money right, we feel so much better than when we got bills that's piling up on us. When your bills are paid and you have a little extra money in the bank, you got some extra savings, you're able to help people and lend to the needy and do things. You're just in a better place emotionally, spiritually, and just overall. We're just overall nicer people when we got our money right. So just the emotional toll. So you think about it, more people are in a better emotional state. And now there's more love being given when you walk outside your door, and we're not your next door neighbor's not mad because they trying to figure out how they're gonna pay their bill, and they stressed about something's going on, and then they get mad at you because they feel like you playing your music too loud because you enjoying yourself and you're in a great place, and you partying too much because you're in a peaceful place and you just enjoying life. Well, we want them to be in that same place. So now, just if we walk out our doors and both of us are in good financial positions, now we're going to be more willing to help each other. We're going to just be overall nicer to each other, which leads to greater communication, which is one of the things we've talked about in, previous episodes. How do we kind of restore the community? There's a lack of communication that goes on now. It used to be where we all met at the church and everybody had those conversations. We knew what was going on down the street, around the corner. Everybody was on one accord. We could discipline each other's children. We could correct each other's children because we had proper communication, and we understood that if Miss Susie is correcting you, that's because she saw you get out of line, and you was fearful of what Miss Susie was going to tell your mama when you got home, because you was going to get corrected in the street, and then you knew when she communicated with your mama, you was going to get corrected at home again. So there was some communication that was going on because we were close-knit and we cared, because we were not necessarily we were in a better financial position as far as being richer, but we were more judicious with our finances. We weren't frivolously spending. So when we think about those previous generations, I think about my grandmother and raising, 6 kids and doing all this kind of stuff. And, you think about, did my dad may have all the bells and whistles that he wanted? No, but was he fed every night? Yes. Did he have shoes and clothes? Yes. He had everything he needed. He might not have had all his wants, but he had all of his needs. And you think about where we are now, most of our kids have all of their wants, but we're really not providing them with the needs that they need from an emotional standpoint, from a communication standpoint, from a discipline standpoint. So I think, with being in a better place financially, now I can kind of see the world clearer. I think that more mistakes happen. And I think there's more of our young men in jail and incarcerated because they were in a tight financial position and they made a decision based on their financial circumstances, not because they're just innate bad people. I don't think that a lot of people just go around trying to do bad stuff. I think we get in positions where we're in a crunch, and then we make the wrong decision, which create a negative outcome more than anything. So I think if we could kind of clean up some of that and start doing a better overall job with our financial planning, I think that lowers the crime rate a little bit. I think that helps educate our kids better, because if I'm in a better position at home and I'm feeling better and I'm less stressed, now I'm able to communicate with my kids more about what's going on in their life. But when I got bills on my head and I'm stressed and I'm strained trying to figure out how I'm going to pay this to get to tomorrow, what kind of mindset am I in to be able to communicate with my children today?
Yeah. No, that's excellent, man. Being focused at home then helps us focus on our community. Building, that's eliminating the erroneous spending. Having a better mindset and being able to work with one another is key for all that we do. So when we come back from commercial, we want to go into how to sow, how to reap, and how to continue to build the morality of our community with that. See you back after this commercial. Welcome back to Closing the Gap podcast, the truth about Black wealth, here on your radio station, WATV V94.9 on your FM dial. I am your co-host, Mr. Eddie Richardson, here with the owner of Hamilton Wealth Advisors and our host, Mr. Wilbur Hamilton. We've been talking, Mr. Hamilton, about the benefit of planning, creating generational wealth, what happens when we properly plan, what happens and the benefits of proper financial planning. We talked about eliminating erroneous spending, bringing God glory with everything that we have, because everything that we have comes from God, and therefore we should dedicate those things back to God. Then also how you talked about the benefits of a proper financial plan is to protect, save, and grow. And I appreciate you laying those things out. And then we also now we're into this segment and talking about the benefits of financial planning and the impact that it has on the community. And so we talked about that in the last segment. But now can we talk about, let's go back to some of that on families. Like what do you think changes when we have financial planning success? What changes for the family? What changes for the community?
You know, I tell people, you know, to keep it real simple in understanding the dynamics of what most people do if they came into some money. So we think about, of course, I'm a firm believer, rights of man leaves inheritance to his children. That's what financial planning does. So if we were to do that and we were to leave our family a large sum of money, most people are going to look at getting a nice home, correct? The nice home is usually in a nicer neighborhood.
That's correct.
The nicer neighborhood usually comes with a better school system. The better school system leads with the opportunity to a possible better education. Better education leads to more opportunities to excel post-graduation. That leads to better job opportunities, that leads to better pay, and that leads to a cycle of education and promotion. So I think innately, if we are to put ourselves in a better position to properly plan and leave that inheritance, now we're putting our children in position to have more opportunities to be successful. And really, that's what life is all about. At the end of the day, you know, I've been blessed to go to schools that are, you know, predominantly Black and predominantly white. I've been in class with students of multiple ethnicities and racial demographics. I'm yet to feel like I'm in the classroom with somebody I feel like is smarter than me. And with being able to see that, it gave me a confidence in myself to know that I can succeed in life if given the opportunity. Well, when we have our finances together and we have our, you know, resources together and we can provide opportunities for education, well, now it gives me the confidence and the ability to put myself in a situation where I'm in demand. And now it leads to a different mindset, because a lot of people make bad decisions because they have no hope. And no hope, unfortunately, in today's world, because we live in a very materialistic society, no hope means you have no money. That's really where when people say, hey, there's no hope for tomorrow, is usually because they're in a financial distress and they don't feel like there's anything that they can do, because I can promise you there's people with money and have health concerns that money can't fix. So for us in our community, when we usually have issues, the biggest issue is lack of financing. It is less economic resources. If we can put ourselves in a position where we have more, not only can we better ourselves, but we can better the people around us. You become more generous when you have more, you know, either on purpose or for even selfish reasons. There's a lot of people who have become very wealthy and very rich who donate a lot of money. They might not be doing it for the right reasons all the time. It may be for a tax break, but I'm still glad that they gave it because it can still benefit somebody else in a positive way. So just being in a position where now we've created more financial stability, it gives us what I like for people to have is called financial freedom. And that's derived through having opportunities, but we have to have a head start. Somebody has to help us. None of us can grant an opportunity to ourselves. Usually the more money you have, the more opportunities you get. And that is the innate situation that we deal with on a day-to-day basis in this country. This country is very much, you know, a classist society. It's very much, if you're not in close proximity to people who can make decisions, who are in charge, that's the likelihood of you getting opportunities is going to be slim to none. Is why we face the glass ceiling effect in a lot of ways. But if I can have a better education and I have better resources, that doesn't guarantee my success, but that gives me a greater likelihood of possibly having success. And that's all we're trying to do.
Yeah.
You know, all we want to do for our kids is put them in a situation where they have more opportunities than we have. And that is by helping them, of course, be in a better situation financially, but also by being in a better situation where they can operate with a clear mind. See, what finances does for a lot of people, and what I've noticed, it's about allowing a kid the chance to dream. So when that kid is not worried about the financial stresses and struggles that their parents are having, and they're able to, they say, let a kid be a kid and let their imagination run wild and let them be in a position where they can truly chase their dreams and their passions, I think that's when the world can start to change. That's when we can see innovation and imagination come together. I think that's something that I was blessed and fortunate enough to have because, you know, when I graduated from college, I was able to go back home and kind of figure out what my next move was going to be. I wasn't forced out to start dealing with life immediately. I had a good landing spot, even though luckily I had a degree, you know, in economics and finance. So I was able to go out and get a job, but I was able to kind of take a step back and survey the landscape of things. And I was able to take an opportunity that was not the most financially rewarding opportunity immediately, but it was something that I could see myself doing and growing into, and it had the highest ceiling. There was no cap. And me being an entrepreneur, I could, you know what, I can make as much as I could earn. It's based on my work ethic, you know, my mental capacity and my ambition and drive. I'm like, well, those are things that I've been making a living off of, you know, as a former athlete. Is my confidence in myself, my belief, my work ethic, my ambition, my drive. That's what I had been built on. Right. You know, that's what my life had been built around. So being able to take that skill set that I had developed growing up, being an athlete and a student, and now being able to say, you know what, I'm going to bet on me and be able to chase a dream and turn it into what is now a company that I've had for, you know, over a decade now, and offices in multiple cities, and been able to work with people who are millionaires and everything else. But that wouldn't have been the case if I was in a position financially where I had to go take the first paycheck to make ends meet. So if we can plan financially to put ourselves and our kids in a situation where they can have a safe landing spot, I'm not saying being a crutch,
Right.
you know, because when I came back home, my dad would say, hey, you know, the first thing he gave me was the payment booklet to my truck that I was driving. He said, look, I'm going to let you stay here rent free, but that don't mean you ain't going to have no bills. So he gave me some responsibility within that, of course. And I'm not saying not to give you kids some responsibility. I want to make sure we make that clear. You know, but at the same time, we don't want to just push them out into the unknown either. Because if you push a person into the unknown, they're going to make decisions based on that unknown. And that's where the mistakes can happen because they're not prepared to handle some of those things. And yes, does sometimes it go right? It does. But more than not, it goes wrong. And we want to just kind of be able to control that as much as we possibly can.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good clarity of explaining to us what happens when we properly plan and we have a financial plan. Is it provides the opportunity to dream. It allows us to have more hope, and it gives us clarity on where we're striving to go. Right? Now we can hear. We're not clouded by the lack of finance.
Yes.
Right. We can hear, you know what I'm saying, over the echo of my empty pockets.
Absolutely.
Right now, because now I have a plan that while my pockets may not be as full as I desire them to be, because I have a definitive plan laid out, I know that at some point along that financial plan's journey, where I'm going to end up.
Absolutely.
Right. Because I have a destination in mind, that I have a plan laid out. And I think too many times we fail to plan because we are analyzing our situation too much. Right. And that's where we get into this saying of paralysis by analysis, right? We've heard we've heard that, and I've heard it in different ways. And the gist of that is saying that you have people that sit back and they think about things and think about what could be, and they analyze all of the situation. But as a result of analyzing the situation for a long period of time, they get stagnant.
Absolutely.
And they don't move, right? What's the thing that said, even in playing cards and in gambling, steady long, steady wrong, right?
Say no in the fold.
That's it. And so, yes, you do need to study, you do need to analyze, but don't allow yourself to get stuck in your analysis. Don't allow yourself to just get stuck in your study, but know that your study should drive you to a definitive plan. Your analysis should drive you to a specific plan. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, verse 4 says, "He that observeth the wind shall not sow, and he that regardeth the clouds shall not reap." What are they saying? Well, when a sower would go out to sow, he wouldn't want to throw his seed out when it's too windy, because it wouldn't land in the place that he wanted it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, when you go out to get ready to reap, you can't reap your harvest in the midst of the rain, in the midst of a storm. And so what Ecclesiastes, the teacher, is saying in that chapter 11 and verse 4, is saying that somebody that's always paying attention to the wind, you're not going to ever put your seed in the ground. You know, if you're always trying to wait on the right time to make your financial plan, you're never going to make your plan, right? If you're always trying to wait till the weather is just right and you want the situation to be just right, you're never going to do it, right? Understand that the right time is now. The right time is the fact that you're alive. And so if you go ahead and do it now, get with a financial planner to get your financial plan. But also, we want you to get in communication with God and pray so that you can have the clarity that you need, because your hope needs to be built on nothing less but Jesus Christ and his righteousness. So build your hopes on things eternal. Build your hopes on God. Build your hopes in reading and studying the word and praying. And then once you pray and build your hope in God and have a clarity and communication with God, then you will have the presence of mind to write down your plan. God will give you the analysis. God will give you the study habits that you need for who you are and where you are and what you need to build up your family. Then God will also guide you to seek out the right financial planner, the right wealth advisor. We are here. We are promoting ourselves. We are promoting Hamilton Wealth Advisors. We want you to visit that website. We want you to set up an appointment for a consultation to come here. But if God leads you somewhere else, we are perfectly fine with that, because we are here to give you the truth about Black wealth. And we want everybody to be financially stable. We want everybody to fall in line with God's plan for their lives. But we want to help you personally to come see us. But if not, then at least listen to the show and go and connect with somebody that is fitting for you. Because who God has for you is for you, and who God has for us is for us. Absolutely. And so we are perfectly fine with that, as long as everybody in this world is growing and doing what God desires for you to do, and connect with the people that you need to connect with, because everybody has the potential for success. And why do I believe that? Well, because I know that God made all of us in his image, and God made all of us to be able to receive success. So in that, Wilbert, what I'm thinking about too in saying that is, there's a moral ethic that's within our community. When we talk about God, God is the one that supplies the soul. God is the one that supplies us with a moral ethic. So in speaking of morality, what do you think happens with the morale of our community when we start to make the right financial, or not just right financial plans, but start making plans? Because sometimes even a bad plan can cause you to get to the correct plan.
Well, like I said, all the things work together for good for the glory of God, for those who call according to his purpose. I think that's where we missing. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head where you said, you know, you're calling them to have some personal accountability, and we're praying for them to ask for direction, ask for God's guidance. So whether you come talk to me, us, or talk to somebody, because what happens all too often in our community, we know a little bit about a lot, but we don't know a lot about a little. And what I mean is, we'll go and we'll have our own plan in our mind etched out. And we have our own thoughts, dreams, and ambitions. And then we've had conversations with the people around us that are closest to us. But I tell people every day, I meet a lot of people that come into my office from a clientele perspective that are extremely bright, extremely smart, and have a great understanding on how the stock market works and everything. They've analyzed their stocks. They know the PE ratio. They know all the different things that go along, what's a good buy, what's not a good buy. But what I tell them is, you could have and know everything, but the difference between me and you is that I can actually execute it. I have access to opportunities that you will not have access to. So in praying for direction, it puts you in a position where you can now be working with someone who's going to have access. We all can know what to do. We can know exactly what kind of medicine we need to take, but we can't write the prescription. So we have to take that direction. And that's why, you know, I want to make sure that you all pray for direction. You pray for God to send you to someone who's going to help you and someone that's working after his heart and not their own, because that is what's lacking more than anything, because we'll want to shade tree mechanic everything. We'll want to, you know, I got a plan, I'm putting it together, I'm doing it myself. And you wonder why the plan doesn't always work out the way it's supposed to work out. You wonder, well, where did I go left? I'm like, well, you're making emotional decisions because you're trying to do everything yourself versus getting a professional opinion that can also provide professional expertise and professional opportunities to the table that you would not be able to access otherwise. So that is one of the keys to having proper execution, is having access to the right opportunity. See, you could come in with the wrong plan and get with somebody who got the right opportunity and still end up with success. But there's no way you can come in when you don't have the right access to the right opportunities and always get the success. So that's what I tell people. I say, you got to get out of your own way. You can't think you the smartest person in the room. You have to trust somebody. You have to trust the doctor. You have to trust an attorney. You got to trust the financial advisor the same way. Too many people in our community want to work with someone, but tell them what to do when they work with them. I'm like, well, that's not going to work, because I tell people, if you're not going to give me 100% of the story, there's no way I'm going to sit up here and give you a 50% answer. Because see, people will come to you and we'll want to give people 50% of the information, but we want 100% return on our investment. No, it don't work that way. You have to be willing to be open, be honest, and be accountable, and provide 100% access so you can get 100% return on your investment. See, there's some give and take that comes into play, and we don't want to let go because we feel like we're losing control. But that's where a lack of understanding comes in play, because I tell people all the time, you don't work for me when you come in my office. I work for you. It's my responsibility to understand where you are, because in this situation, you're the client. You have the right to hire me and fire me. So I'm here to work for you. So if an advisor is ever making you feel like they're doing you a service by having a conversation with you, then that's the right then, right now moment that you need to say, you know what, thank you for your time. I'm going to exit stage left, because we're here to be a servant. This is my ministry. Right. I'm here and was called by God to say, look, I want you to teach your community how to create generational wealth. So I wake up every day with a passion and purpose to operate in that gift and operate in that particular area. So I'm going to give you what is in the best interest of you putting yourself in a situation to be successful. And I can tell people first off and right off the bat, if you're not a person and you're not a man, I'm going to speak to my man for a second. If you're not a man that's about creating generational wealth in your family and leaving the handles to your children, I may not be the best advisor for you, but we'll see you in a minute.
Welcome back to Closing the Gap podcast, the truth about Black wealth. I am the co-host, Mr. Eddie Richardson, here with our host and owner of Hamilton Wealth Advisors, Mr. Wilbur Hamilton, and you are tuned in to WATV V94.9 FM on your FM dial. And tune in to us on YouTube and anywhere you get your streaming podcast. We've been talking today about creating generational wealth, the benefit of planning. And as we move to this last segment, Mr. Hamilton, we've been touched on quite a few things, man. How to protect, save, and grow your money, how to eliminate erroneous spending, how proper planning propels us towards God's purpose, and focusing on praying to God to be able to receive the direction of how to set our plans into place. And as we see this in our current market time and current administration in the White House and the various things that are going on there, I think it behooves everybody to find a plan and be able to stick with it. Also, to be able to be in communication with a financial advisor, because no matter how much we educate ourselves, we need to have somebody that's also educated and, as you stated earlier, that's able to actually function within the market in the proper way, right? Being able to handle the things correctly. Because what sticks out to me now in this current time is the biblical story of Joseph and Pharaoh that we find in the book of Genesis around chapter 40, 41, where we know the story. Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, and he was a great interpreter of dreams. And the Pharaoh that came into office during time, God showed Pharaoh this dream of 7 lean years and seven fat years and 7 lean years, right? Where there was going to be 7 years where everything was going to be good. All the cattle would be fat. All of the farming things that they would plant, they would get bountiful returns in those. All the sowing, they would reap bountifully. But then there were going to be 7 years of a famine, 7 years where the cattle was going to be lean, 7 years where the plants weren't going to be growing bountifully on the vine. And so in that, what God showed Joseph was how to interpret that dream. And then Joseph in turn put together a plan for Pharaoh and a plan for the people that during the time where things were well, they overstocked, right? They stocked up more than what they usually had because they knew that a rainy day was coming, so to speak. They knew that the lean time was coming. And that's what we want to impress upon the people is that, first of all, you can have whatever type of dreams that you want, right? As you are dreaming about your own success. What I see in that story of Pharaoh and Joseph is a good financial advisor functions like Joseph. A good financial advisor is able to interpret your dream and then put a plan together based on the dream that you had.
Absolutely.
Pharaoh had a dream from God about the 7 fat years and the 7 lean, but he couldn't interpret the dream and he couldn't put a plan together for the dream. So, but Joseph was able to do that, and Joseph was the financial advisor. And as a result of that, Pharaoh put Joseph in control of all of Egypt. So everything that was being planted and reaped in Egypt, Joseph was the manager of it. And Joseph told everybody, look, everything that you're getting, I need you to bring it here, right? And he was able to account for it. And so that's what people need to realize is that Joseph operated as a financial advisor. And although Pharaoh was the ruler of the nation, Pharaoh realized that he could not get it done. That he had the dream, but he needed somebody to bring the dream to pass.
Interpret it. That's key because, when I think about that, the word that I think about that I lean into heavily and when I tell people how we're going to close the wealth gap in our community, I always come back to trust. Pharaoh had a level of trust in Joseph that he was going to be able to execute that plan. And that's what people need to have in the advisor that they trust. We have a lack of trust that someone is going to be able to execute our dream. So we always think that we got to be the executor of the dream that we have, when in reality, God has already told us you're going to need a lot of people help And nobody's dream comes true on their own. It's always through the gifts of others around you that are able to help you along the way. And I'm happy that Pharaoh trusted Joseph in that moment to where he allowed Joseph to put that plan together. And that's what we need more of. And I have to do that as well. I tell people all the time, I'm a firm believer in utilizing professional help. We talk about here on the show all the time about seeking professional help for whatever area of expertise you need. I'm a firm believer in seeking professional help when it comes to accounting and bookkeeping and tax prep. I'm a firm believer when I need somebody to work on my car, I'm going to the expert at the dealership. I'm a firm believer in and when I need a doctor, I'm not just gonna call my mom all the time and she give her that down home, remedy. I'm gonna go and make sure I get my checkup. I'm gonna make sure that they doing the blood pressure, doing the blood work, doing all the things that we need to do and make sure that I can make sure I dot all my I's and cross all my T's to make sure that we can have, so the doctor can put together his plan and saying, okay, well, Mr. Hamilton, I need you to eat more fruits and vegetables. I need you to lay off this and lay off that. I've did your numbers and your HDL say this and your LDL say that. So we need to make some adjustments in your eating plan to make sure we stay healthy and get healthier. So we all need help, and all people who have a profession, that's really what they do. When I come to you, every Monday morning, you keep me clean and looking good, ready for the YouTube and the show, and looking me good to go out and work and meet with clients. You have a plan on how you're going to prepare and cut hair.
That's right.
You have laid that out. You have it down to a science. Could I cut my hair at my home? I could. Would the results be the same? Probably not. But that's where we have to have trust. And we all understand that analogy, especially the brothers, when we go to the barbershop for the first time and you sit in that chair for the first time and you're a little bit nervous. You said, I think he can cut. He cut so-and-so pretty well, so I think he's going to take care of me. But you got to go ahead and put some trust in his hand, to make sure that, giving that trust to your barber is like putting your life in his hands. You control a lot. A lot of that confidence comes from that haircut. So being able to look good, that's part of us having trust in the professional. And as professionals, we have to do a better job in our community of taking pride in being the best, not just being a professional, but striving to be the best professional, because for us, that's when God is going to bless us. When he see us doing the most with the least, that's when he'll give us more so we can accomplish more and do great things. But if he don't see us doing the best we can with what we got, why would he give us more? So, we got to understand that all this thing works together. We need the people to trust us, but we got to be trusting God that he's going to provide the people so we can put our best foot forward.
Yeah. Nah, that's good. And when we build that trust, what we will see is that we will light a fire within our community for creating generational wealth.
Yes.
Right? That's what ignites the fire. That trust that you speak of will light the fire, and that fire becomes contagious and it spreads to everybody. And then now we start becoming innovators. We start becoming creators. We start taking and managing our own opportunities within the community, because we realize that now, because I trust you and I trust others in the community around me, then now I have some peace. I have some comfort. I'm not stressed about things now. Now I have more hope in my community, right? Because I've seen some people that are able to do things that I thought I was able to do and probably am able to do. But as you said, how effective would I be doing it versus actually trusting the other person to get those things done? And so that's what we want the community to see today in this episode of our show, is that the benefit of planning is to continue to protect, save, and grow your finances, eliminate erroneous spending, and be able to fulfill God's purpose within our lives. But then also that allows us to dream bigger. That lights a fire of innovation within us. Now we can start creating more things.
Yes.
We can start doing more with what we have, because now we have a plan. And that plan then gives us bigger dreams. You know, we often talk about living the American dream, right? But I would even venture to say that once you start trusting the community in the manner in which you should, you don't have an American dream. You're now able to dream the dream that God has implanted within you. And that dream is bigger than America. That dream has roots and a foundation for you to build your family, for us to build a community, and for us to build a nation of believers, a nation of God-fearing individuals that will go forth and spread the gospel and do the work to take care of one another. Then when we do that, now we become our own government. We become our own financiers of our hopes and our dreams. We become the incubators for our own innovation, right? We become the creators for ourselves because what? We laid a plan out.
Yes, sir.
And that plan ends up reaping some benefits for us. And now we're able to invest in the community because guess what? As we shared that dream that Pharaoh had and Joseph had to come in and manage it, I believe that we're always living in a time similar to that. Every day we don't specifically know when the lean years will be or the fat years will be.
Yes.
But I would dare say that now is a time where we need to be preparing for the lean years.
Absolutely.
Because we see the president striving to, and whether he is successful in doing it is another conversation. But we do see the activity that is going on in removing a lot of things that the government has been doing, and we see the effects on the stock market, and we see the effects on the common person is able to get into the stock market, but at what level?
Yes.
You know, so you need a proper plan to be able to access it, and that plan that as you access the market, realizing that it has volatility, but when you sit down and talk with the financial advisor, a financial advisor like Mr. Hamilton is able to put the proper plan in place based on what you have and what type of risk tolerance you can take in order to build your financial plan and your financial success for your household. So as we move forward, Wilbur, what are some more initiatives we need to take in building this plan and moving forward as we get ready to go to the close of this show? What are some things that we just want to lay out when we're talking about lighting this fire in our community and creating opportunities and the innovation to take us to another level?
You know, I think it all starts with kind of you said, you know, we wrote down the plan and we made a plan. You know, you sought professional help. And then it's now just trusting and allowing the help to help you. You know, it's getting out of our own way. You know, I think that's a lot of our, you know, probably our biggest issues is, you know, being, you know, wanting to have too much control. And we all have, you know, want to have control over our situations. And, you know, it's kind of like driving that car. And my father was driver's ed teaching. They teach you in driver's ed when you learn how to drive. If you're ever in a rainstorm and your car starts to spin out of whack and lose control, the worst thing to do is grab onto the wheel and hold it tight. They say what you should do is let go and let God. And the car is going to automatically realign itself. And I think that's a hard thing to do because what happens in life is when we see things going awry, the first thing we want to do is grab the wheel. We want to take control. Well, if you take control, do you know what you're taking control of? Allow the professional to take control for you. But in a sense, if you've trusted a financial advisor and he's built you a good financial plan, well, guess what? I've already planned for the worst and hope for the best. So we don't have to do that. We just need to let go and let God, and the plan will automatically realign itself. Because what happens to most people, they're overly emotional decision makers. You have to remove the emotion from making financial decisions. We have to make logical decisions because the stock market is very simple in reality. The goal is to buy low and sell high. Unfortunately, most people do the opposite. They sell low and they buy high. Why? Because they're operating based off of emotion. Right now, there's a lot of people cashing out. Well, you're cashing out at rock bottom. Now is the time when you should be getting ready to buy low. But what happens is we listen to all the water cooler talk. We listen to everybody except for the financial professional to give you the right help. Does that mean you should maybe reallocate a little bit right now? Absolutely not. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we maybe should look at a reallocation, but an overall change means that you didn't have a plan to begin with. You were in it and you weren't in it to win it. You were in it to do it your way. Is your way worth sacrificing your financial future? And that's what people have to ask themselves. Is you ending up with nothing more important than getting the financial help and ending up with something? For some people, and a lot of people I've learned, they're okay with losing their way as opposed to winning with help. We have to reverse that mindset and get to a position where I'm happy with getting help. I don't mind paying for help when I'm getting the help that I need. Yes, I will have a problem if I'm paying for help and the help is not beneficial. But when you've asked God to guide you in the right direction to seek the right kind of financial help, and you've vetted that particular person, and you've asked for referrals, and you've done some background on this individual, and you have an understanding that this person has actually worked with a number of people in my type of situation. They've been doing this for a number of years, so they have a track record of excellence. They have a record of transparency. They've been forthright, and they've built me a plan that I'm able to look at and see, and they have contingencies built into that plan from the beginning. They're not coming in being overly optimistic, telling me about how much money they go make me with buying this stock and making this trade. They're not leading with returns. They're leading with overall assessment and understanding of where I'm trying to be. Well, guess what? I know there's going to be a dip from time to time. At this particular point in time, the conversation with your advisor needs to be, how much of this dip are we going to buy? Because if you're not having that conversation, well, that means that your advisor didn't plan for the dip. Well, we all know a dip is going to happen. It don't take a rocket science to figure that. It's going to be one of those usually every 4 to 5 years. Now, we've had an extended run in the market based on some different things that we've had economically, from COVID to the '08 crash, that's made our market a little overly optimistic, and we're overdue actually for a correction. We should have had a correction several years ago, but we haven't. We're at a time now where the chicken's coming home to roost. And we can see the writing on the wall. So what am I going to do to prepare myself? So if you've never met with an advisor before, now is as good a time as any to make a call and contact someone. And I advise people to contact more than one. Meet with a few different people, find out, because working with an advisor is a lot like working with your spouse. It's a relationship. We got to get to know each other. I need to know your likes. I need to know your dislikes. I tell people it's more important to know what you don't like than to actually know what you do. Because we need to understand when to make a change. Not if we're going to make a change, but when to make a change and how it's going to impact you. So I implore everybody today, they can contact us at HamiltonWealthADV.com, or they can contact any financial advisor. You can look them up through Google or however you search and seek out professional help. But I implore you to seek out professional help, because now you're going to need it. See you next time.